So the other day in Tennessee, there was a mass shooting, and the person who committed the mass shooting is trans. Now she's dead. She killed, I believe it was three adults and three children in a Christian elementary school. It's just a absolutely horrific thing that happened. And of course, in the immediate aftermath of this, you got your narratives that are being developed. And the right, the Matt Walsh types, Ben Shapiro types, they're really leaning into, hey, the shooter was trans, and like, that's why it happened. In other words, they're trying to link something about transness with mass shootings or terrorism or whatever you want to call it. And the fact of the matter is that point is so stupid that we shouldn't even really have to entertain it. Because if you look at a breakdown of the numbers when it comes to mass shootings, it is, what is it, like 99% of mass shootings are done by, keep it real, cis men. And the overwhelming majority of the time, white cis men. And so is there something that's inherent to whiteness or being cis that leads people to violence? No. I mean, it just so happens to be the case that this mass shooter was trans. By the way, you know what they were able to find after the exhaustive far right-wing search? They were able to find, I believe, a grand total of 3 or 4 mass shootings that were done by trans people. And that's out of how many mass shootings have we had? Like 10,000 or something like that. So it's just such a dumb point. But this is what they do. I mean, this is Matt Walsh's bread and butter. And now they're trying to lean into, like, there's a trans terror threat that you need to look out for. So anyway, that's what they're saying. Now, the real part of the conversation, which I think matters, which is super important, which is being ignored, is this. So this is in Mediaite. Nashville shooter bought 7 guns legally despite being under treatment for emotional disorder. Well, that seems like a wee bit of a problem, doesn't it? The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department confirmed that the woman who attacked Covenant Church School was able to legally purchase the weapons she used to commit the horrific massacre. Now, by the way, I've seen some speculation, and at this point it is just speculation, but I've seen some speculation that there may be a troubling history of child sexual abuse that was linked to some people around this school. Now, that still doesn't justify what happened here. Of course, nothing can. We have 3 children who were killed, and then, people who were very likely, even if that story is true, people who were unrelated to that who were killed. So that doesn't excuse it by any stretch of the imagination. It's just to say that there might be pieces of the puzzle here that are totally missing that we don't know about yet. And I would be surprised if that was part of it. Nothing's verified yet, but I have seen some speculation around that. Anyway, so they say Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old who identified as transgender and was formerly a student at the school, was named as the perpetrator who killed 3 children and 3 adult staff members in Monday's shooting. On Tuesday, Police Chief John Drake provided an update on the shooting investigation, and he started by saying his team has spoken with Hale's parents. We've determined that Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally, Drake said. They were legally purchased. 3 of those weapons were used yesterday during this horrific tragedy that happened. We know that they felt that she had 1 weapon and that she sold it. So, they don't, the family members were like, Audrey shouldn't be allowed to have weapons. The family members were on the record saying that. Drake further disclosed that Hale was under doctor's care for an emotional disorder at the time. Law enforcement knew nothing about the treatment she was receiving, he continued, but her parents felt that she should not own weapons. They were under the impression that when she sold the weapon, that she did not own any more. As it turned out, she had been hiding several weapons within the house. Drake went on by saying investigators are still working to determine Hale's motives, even after discovering her manifesto and her apparent plans to attack the school. The debate following mass shootings often turns to mental health and the topic of red flag laws, which allow authorities to bar certain individuals from owning guns if they are deemed a public safety concern. Okay. So, I mean, this to me is the big issue, right? If you have somebody who is on the record as having an emotional disorder, they have family members who say in no way, shape, or form should this person have a weapon, and then still allowed to have a weapon, and she bought 7 weapons legally. look, I really think that's the problem. I really think that's the issue. You know, in this country, we have the Second Amendment. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you're always going to be able to get a weapon. That's what it is, unless you're talking about repealing the Second Amendment, which is phenomenally difficult, then we're never going to get past that. But we certainly can have regulations that color within the lines given that fact. And one of those things would be a national red flag law that we can put into place, strict rules around who can and can't own a weapon in terms of if they have a propensity to violence or severe emotional disorder, things of that nature. I mean, at the very least, something we can all agree on, right, is that this person should not have had a weapon. Never mind 7, given the facts of the scenario. But it's a lot less sexy to talk about this than it is to try to, link being trans to being a terrorist or whatever the hell Matt Walsh is doing today, right? And look, that's gonna, they're fanning the flames of a fire, But we already have anti-trans legislation that's propped up in so many different states. And now you have far-right commentators saying that, trans people are a terror threat. And so we're in a tinderbox, man. This is not safe. This is not good. But they'd rather feed into the culture war and fearmonger and lie, by the way, than actually come up with real solutions. When again, real solutions would be to get the weapons out of the hands of people who shouldn't have the goddamn weapons. And this is like such a clear example of this person should have never had any weapons. So anyway, there you have it. Really, really terrible scenario and all the wrong lessons being learned. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.